Have you ever stopped to think that some of the best games of your life didn't cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make? While many AAA titles deliver massive empty worlds and broken promises, there are smaller games that focus on what really matters: gameplay, story, and soul. Today, I'm going to show you 15 games that are way better than AAA games and that you must play before getting hyped for the next big release. Grab your controller because this list might completely change how you see games.
But we don't have a choice.
A Plague Tale: Innocence. When we look at modern AAA titles, we often see massive budgets wasted on filler content and microtransactions. A Plague Tale: Innocence, developed by Asobo Studio, is a technical and narrative slap in the face to those corporate giants. This game humbles the big industry players by delivering a AA experience that looks and feels more expensive than most blockbuster games. Set in the grim reality of 14th century France during the Black Death, the game focuses on the emotional bond between Amicia and her younger brother, Hugo. What makes this game technically superior to many AAA titles is its incredible rat swarm engine. Seeing 5,000 rats on screen at once, each with their own AI, reacting to light and shadow, is a terrifying spectacle that modern hardware was built for, but only Asobo managed to execute with such precision. The lighting design is a masterclass in atmospheric storytelling. The warm, flickering glow of a torch against the cold, damp stone of a plague-ridden village creates a level of immersion that $200 million budgets rarely achieve. It proves that you don't need 1,000 icons on a map to keep a player engaged. You just need a hauntingly beautiful world, a tight, focused story, and a soul.
Several centuries old. It looks like it's dry, but that's...
Control is always a studio that dances on the line between indie spirit and AAA quality. And Control is their ultimate masterpiece of technical innovation. While many AAA open worlds feel static and unbreakable, Control delivers a level of environmental destruction that humiliates almost everything on the market. Using their proprietary Northlight engine, Remedy created The Oldest House, a brutalist masterpiece where every office, every concrete pillar, and every piece of furniture is a physically reactive object. When you use your telekinetic powers to rip a chunk of concrete out of a wall to use as a shield, it leaves a permanent mark. The game's use of ray tracing and global illumination creates a surreal, dreamlike atmosphere where light reflects off polished marble and glass with a clarity that modern blockbuster shooters can't match. It's a Metroidvania in a corporate office setting that respects your intelligence, offering a deep Lynchian mystery without the hand-holding that plagues modern mainstream games. It's a sharp, polished, and artistically daring title that shows what happens when a developer prioritizes creative vision and physics-based gameplay over generic trends. Shadow Warrior. In an era where many AAA first-person shooters feel like they're playing themselves, relying on regenerating health, iron sights, and scripted cutscenes, Shadow Warrior is a violent, high-octane reminder of what the genre used to be and what it should still be. Developed by Flying Wild Hog, this reboot of the 90s classic humiliates modern shooters through its incredible blade physics. This isn't just a game where you press a button to swing a sword. The Shadow Warrior swordplay is technical, rewarding, and visceral. You can slice enemies in half horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, and the gore system reacts with anatomical precision. The visual style is a vibrant, neon-soaked blend of traditional Japanese aesthetics and modern industrial grit, delivered with a frame rate and a level of polish that makes modern, broken-at-launch titles look like amateur work. It offers a massive arsenal of upgradable weapons and a snarky, personality-driven protagonist in Lo Wang that actually makes the story fun to follow. It's an unapologetically old-school shooter with modern technical flair that proves that fun is a mechanical achievement, not just a marketing buzzword.
Remnant II is the game that finally answered the question, what if you combined the challenge of a Souls-like with the depth of a world-class shooter? While AAA giants like Destiny or The Division often get bogged down in live service grind and repetitive loot, Remnant II delivers a complete, procedurally generated masterpiece that humbles the competition through its sheer variety. The technical wizardry here is in the world generation. No two players will have the same experience. The game randomly selects which bosses you fight, which locations you visit, and even which storylines you follow. The art direction is breathtaking, shifting from the blood-soaked gothic streets of Lassam to the terrifying, hyper-advanced alien landscapes of Narud. The lighting and particle effects during boss fights are a visual fireworks show that remains clear and readable even in the heat of battle. It's a game that respects your time by offering meaningful secrets, incredible build diversity, and a level of polish that puts many $70 next-gen exclusives to shame. It's a brutal, beautiful, and endlessly replayable proof that a focused AA team can out-innovate the biggest studios in the world. Metro Exodus, while many AAA open-world shooters prioritize quantity over quality, Metro Exodus by 4A Games is a masterpiece of atmospheric hyper-realism that puts the big industry giants to shame. This game humbles the competition through its obsessive attention to detail, from the way your gas mask cracks and fogs up in real time to the manual cleaning of your weapons to prevent jamming. Technically, Metro Exodus was a pioneer, being one of the first titles to fully embrace global illumination via ray tracing, creating a world where light feels heavy and natural. Whether you were traversing the frozen post-apocalyptic ruins of Moscow or the scorching deserts of the Caspian Sea, the environmental storytelling is unparalleled. Unlike many blockbuster games that fill their maps with mindless icons and repetitive fetch quests, every location in Exodus feels handcrafted and narratively significant. The sound design, the chilling howl of mutated beasts, and the rhythmic clanking of the Aurora train creates a level of immersion that $200 million budgets rarely achieve. It is a gritty, beautiful, and deeply human journey that proves that a focused, linear open world is infinitely more powerful than a vast, empty sandbox. Hades. When we talk about games that humiliate the AAA industry, Hades by Supergiant Games is the ultimate example of how art direction and writing can outshine raw polygon counts. While big studios often struggle to keep their narratives engaging over dozens of hours, Hades weaves its story into the very fabric of its roguelike loop. Every time you die and return to the House of Hades, the world evolves. Characters have new, fully voiced dialogue that reacts to your specific actions, creating a dynamic narrative that feels alive. Visually, the game is a triumph of 2D art and isometric design, with a vibrant, neon-soaked Greek underworld that is more memorable than most photorealistic 3D environments. The technical fluidity of the combat, the dash strike, the special attacks, and the boons from the gods is so perfectly tuned that it makes modern action RPGs feel clunky and unresponsive by comparison. It is a game that respects your time, rewarding every run with either a piece of the story or a permanent upgrade. Hades is proof that a small, passionate team with a unified vision can deliver a perfect 10 out of 10 experience that billions of corporate dollars simply cannot buy. It Takes Two. In an era where AAA developers are obsessed with monetized multiplayer and battle passes, Hazelight Studios delivered It Takes Two, a game that is the pure, unfiltered definition of co-op innovation. What makes this game way better than many big-budget titles is its refusal to repeat itself.
Every single level introduces a brand new gameplay mechanic, from flight simulation and third-person shooting to platforming and puzzle solving, and then discards it for something even more creative in the next chapter. This level of variety is a technical and design nightmare that most AAA studios would never even attempt. The art direction is whimsical and high fidelity, shrinking the players down to the size of toys and turning a suburban home into an epic adventure. The story of Cody and May is emotionally resonant and funny, handling themes of divorce and reconciliation with more maturity than many cinematic blockbusters. It is a game built entirely on the joy of collaboration, proving that the most valuable thing a game can offer is a unique, shared experience that doesn't require a single microtransaction to be fun.
Alan Wake. Remedy Entertainment returns to the list with Alan Wake, a game that humbles modern horror and action titles through its atmospheric mastery and unique combat mechanics. While many AAA games rely on cheap jump scares, Alan Wake builds tension through its light versus dark system. The way the shadows, the Taken, behave, and the technical execution of the volumetric fog create a sense of dread that is palpable. Using your flashlight as a weapon to burn away the darkness before you can even deal damage is a brilliant mechanical hook that modern games have rarely managed to replicate with the same level of polish. The episodic TV show-style structure was years ahead of its time, keeping players hooked with cliffhangers and deep lore. The Pacific Northwest setting of Bright Falls is rendered with incredible moodiness, using light and shadow to tell a story of a writer's nightmare coming to life. It is a polished, narratively complex thriller that shows how a strong authorial voice in game design can create a timeless classic that outshines the sterile, committee-designed shooters of the modern era.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, called Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, an independent AAA game, and it remains a masterclass in technical innovation that humbles the biggest studios in the world. What makes this game way better than many modern blockbusters is its binaural audio and its uncompromising focus on mental health. While AAA games often use sound as background noise, Hellblade uses it as a core gameplay mechanic. The voices in Senua's head whisper from all directions, creating a psychological immersion that is genuinely unsettling. Technically, the motion capture for Senua is still a benchmark for the industry, capturing raw, visceral emotion that makes most $100 million photorealistic characters look like plastic dolls. The combat is deliberate and heavy, focusing on every sword clash and every breath rather than mindless button mashing. It's a game that doesn't waste your time with HUDs or map markers. It trusts you to inhabit Senua's fractured world. By stripping away the gaming fluff and focusing on a singular, high-fidelity emotional experience, Hellblade proves that a small team can deliver more impact in 8 hours than a massive studio can in 80. Kena: Bridge of Spirits. Kena: Bridge of Spirits is the debut game from Ember Lab, a studio that started in animation, and it shows in every single frame. This game humiliates many AAA titles by looking like a playable Pixar movie while offering a combat challenge that rivals the most difficult Souls-like games. What makes it superior to many big-budget open worlds is its visual polish and vertical design. The world of Kena is lush, vibrant, and alive, with thousands of individual leaves and particles reacting to your movements. The rot, the little forest spirits you collect, are a technical marvel. Seeing dozens of them interacting with the environment and helping you in combat is something even the biggest studios haven't quite mastered. Unlike many corporate games that feel like they were made by a committee, Kena feels like a labor of love. The boss fights are masterpieces of timing and visual spectacle, utilizing incredible particle effects and lighting that justify every second of your playtime. It's a polished, challenging, and breathtakingly beautiful adventure that proves that AA studios are often the ones carrying the torch of true artistic innovation.
Mountain Blade Warband. If you want to talk about a game that humiliates AAA giants through sheer mechanical freedom, you have to talk about Mountain Blade Warband. On the surface, it might not have the glossy textures of a modern Elder Scrolls, but underneath, it has a soul and a system of dynamic warfare that big-budget games are too afraid to attempt. In Warband, you aren't just a chosen one, you are a nobody in a living, breathing sandbox of Calradia. The technical achievement here is the scale of the battles and the directional combat. Leading a charge of 200 knights against a castle wall is a visceral thrill that scripted AAA cutscenes can't replicate. The game's economy, the political shifting of kingdoms, and the ability to go from a common mercenary to a king is a level of player agency that most modern games only pretend to offer. It proves that gameplay systems and a reactive world are infinitely more valuable than high-resolution textures. It's a game of infinite stories, where the soul of the sandbox makes modern linear RPGs look like empty husks.
Hollow Knight is a masterpiece of atmospheric world-building that humbles almost every AAA Metroidvania ever made. Developed by Team Cherry, a tiny team of just 3 people, this game offers more content, more secrets, and more polish than most $70 releases. The technical brilliance of Hollow Knight lies in its hand-drawn 2D fidelity and its perfect control response. Hallownest is a melancholic, beautiful, and terrifying world where every area has its own unique ecosystem and lore. The combat is surgically precise. Every death feels like your own fault, and every victory feels earned. What makes it way better than the AAA competition is its sense of mystery. It doesn't use map markers or objective logs to tell you where to go. It respects your curiosity and lets you get lost in its tunnels. The orchestral score and the subtle sound design create an atmosphere so thick you can feel the weight of the ancient kingdom. It is a massive, deep, and flawless experience that reminds the entire industry that size is nothing without substance.
Deus Ex: Human Revolution stands as a monolith of cohesive art direction and systemic depth. While big-budget RPGs often give you the illusion of choice, Eidos Montreal delivered a world where your playstyle is a technical reality. What humiliates modern blockbusters here is the cyber renaissance aesthetic, a bold, gold and black visual palette that makes the game look more like a piece of high-end concept art than a mere software product. Technically, the level design is a masterpiece of multi-path logic. A simple vent isn't just a decoration, it's a fully realized tactical option that bypasses an entire floor of AI guards. The environmental storytelling in the apartments of Detroit and the neon-soaked streets of Hengsha is so dense that you can learn more about the world by looking at a character's desk than by listening to a 10-minute AAA exposition dump. It is a sharp, intellectually stimulating, and visually iconic game that proves that a strong aesthetic vision is the best defense against the passage of time. It humiliates the modern era by showing that complexity doesn't have to be confusing, it just has to be intentional.
Prey 2017 is a game so technically and narratively brilliant that it makes most modern AAA shooters look like plastic toys. This is the pinnacle of the immersive sim genre, and it humbles the competition through its incredible object physics and systematic reactivity. In Prey, the environment is your greatest tool. The glue cannon is a technical marvel that allows you to create your own platforms, freeze enemies, or block fires, a level of player agency that most scripted blockbusters are too afraid to give you. The mimics, enemies that can transform into any physics-based object in the room, create a level of tension and visual paranoia that no jump-scare-heavy horror game can match. The Talos I space station is a fully contiguous one-to-one scale environment where you can look out a window, see a distant wing of the station, and eventually float out there in zero-G to enter it. It is a game of infinite solutions, where your imagination is the only limit to how you bypass an obstacle. It humiliates the modern AAA landscape by being a complete, polished, and terrifyingly smart experience that respects the player's creativity above all else.
Dishonored 2. To close out this list, we have Dishonored 2, a game that represents the absolute peak of manual craftsmanship in game design. While corporate AAA studios are increasingly turning to AI and procedural generation to fill their massive empty worlds, Arcane hand-sculpted every corner of the city of Karnaca. What makes this way better than the big-budget competition is the systemic layering. You aren't just playing a stealth game, you are playing with a set of physical and magical laws that interact in ways that even the developers didn't fully predict. The technical execution of levels like the Clockwork Mansion, where the entire house shifts and reconfigures its rooms in real time, is a feat of spatial engineering that remains unmatched in 2026. The lighting and art direction create a living oil painting look that avoids the sterile feel of many modern photorealistic games. It humiliates the industry by offering a level of replayability that is actually meaningful. Playing as Emily versus Corvo feels like two different games. It is a deep, stylish, and flawlessly executed masterpiece that reminds us that soul is something you can only get when human artists obsess over every single detail.
The message here is simple. Don't let a marketing budget define what a masterpiece is. What we've seen today is that games like Hollow Knight, Control, and Hades deliver more soul, more innovation, and more technical polish than titles with 10 times the budget. These 15 games prove that the heart of this industry doesn't beat in a corporate boardroom. It beats in the studios of developers willing to take risks, trust the player's intelligence, and prioritize fun over monetization. Now, I want to hear from you. Which small game do you think puts the AAA giants to shame? Is there one on this list that changed your perspective on what a great game should be? Drop a comment below.